When I first became a foster mother, I never imagined the countless ways life would surprise me. My name is Elaine Parker, and I have always believed that family is not defined only by blood but by love, trust, and the small acts of kindness that tie people together. I had been married to Daniel for 12 years, and while we never had children of our own, the longing for a family never left me. So when the opportunity came to open our home to a foster child, I didn't hesitate. That's how Jeremy came into our lives. He was 10 years old when he walked through our front door, carrying a small backpack and wearing a look that broke my heart instantly. His mother had struggled with addiction, and his father was not in the picture. He had been moved from home to home, and we were his fourth placement in less than 2 years. His caseworker told me he had trouble trusting people, which wasn't surprising given what he had been through. At first, Jeremy was quiet. He didn't speak much and often kept to himself. He would sit in his room drawing for hours or take long walks around the backyard. Daniel tried to connect with him by talking about sports, and I tried to draw him out with small activities like baking cookies or planting flowers. Progress was slow, but one thing about Jeremy stood out. He noticed details. Nothing escaped his eyes. One evening, I saw him sitting on the living room carpet with something in his hands. I walked closer and froze when I realized what he was holding. It was Daniel's old watch, the one his late father had given him before passing away. Daniel treasured it deeply and rarely let anyone touch it. Jeremy's small fingers traced the glass carefully, his eyes full of thought. I hesitated, wondering whether to scold him for handling something so precious. But instead, I knelt beside him and asked gently, "Do you like watches?" He looked up at me, his expression unreadable at first. Then he nodded. "It ticks like it's alive," he whispered. That was the first real sentence he had spoken to me since he arrived. My heart softened instantly. I told him about how the watch had been passed down, how Daniel wore it on special occasions, and how it represented family. Jeremy listened quietly, then said something that made my chest tighten. "I never had anything for my dad." From that moment, something shifted. The watch became a bridge between us. I asked Daniel if Jeremy could keep it for a while just to feel closer to something meaningful. Daniel hesitated but agreed, reminding Jeremy how special it was. To my surprise, Jeremy began wearing it around the house as though it gave him comfort. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, Jeremy started opening up. He would join me in the kitchen, asking to stir the batter when I baked. He laughed the first time flour covered his face, and I laughed with him until tears rolled down my cheeks. He began following Daniel to the garage when he worked on his old truck, watching carefully, asking questions. It was like watching a flower bloom in slow motion, each petal unfolding with cautious trust. But then, life added a twist I didn't expect. One rainy afternoon, while I was sorting laundry, I overheard Jeremy talking softly in his room. I thought he was on the phone, but when I peeked in, I realized he wasn't. He was talking to the watch. He held it close, whispering words I couldn't hear. When he noticed me, his cheeks flushed, and he quickly shoved it under his pillow. I reassured him I wasn't upset, but inside, I was curious and a little worried. Later that evening, I gently asked him what he had been saying. He looked embarrassed at first, then admitted, "I was pretending my dad was listening. I tell him things like how I wish he came back." His honesty pierced me. I realized that while the watch was Daniel's connection to his father, for Jeremy it had become something far deeper, a symbol of the father he longed for, but didn't have. Not long after, another revelation shook me. Daniel had gone on a short work trip, leaving me and Jeremy at home. One night, while cleaning the kitchen, I found a folded piece of paper on the counter. It was one of Jeremy's drawings. He had sketched himself sitting beside a tall man wearing a watch. The man looked like Daniel. Above them, Jeremy had written, "Family Forever." My eyes blurred with tears as I clutched the paper. I never expected fostering would stir such emotions. His longing, our attempts to fill the gaps, and the fragile way trust was built. When Daniel returned, Jeremy proudly showed him the drawing. Daniel's eyes softened, and I saw something in his expression I hadn't seen before: pride, love, and maybe even the acceptance that Jeremy was becoming his son in all the ways that truly mattered. But the most unforgettable moment happened weeks later. Daniel was about to leave for a business dinner when Jeremy ran up to him, holding the watch carefully. He pressed it into Daniel's hand and said, "This belongs to you. But thank you for letting me borrow it. I know now what family feels like." Daniel was stunned. He knelt, hugged Jeremy tightly, and told him he never had to give anything back because love wasn't borrowed, it was shared. That night, I went to bed thinking about how unexpected love can be. I never thought a simple watch could hold so much power. But in our home, it became a reminder that broken pieces can be healed, trust can be rebuilt, and family can be chosen. Jeremy is older now, but he still talks about that watch. Daniel lets him wear it on special days like birthdays or school milestones. And every time I see it on his wrist, I remember the boy who once whispered to it, searching for a father, and the day he realized he had found one. Love doesn't always come the way we imagine, but when it does, it changes everything. And that is the story I never expected to tell. The story of my foster son, a treasured watch, and the family we built when none of us were looking.